Everybody, everyone that's joining. Just going to give it a few minutes. We're just a few minutes before the hour, but thought I would, let us all in a little bit early. So welcome. Thanks for being here. And you can just hang tight for a few minutes while we wait for everybody to log on. Wait for Nicole Harlow, who's going to be presenting today. But can see that some of you are eager for this session. So I can see Julie and Kat, Kelly, Louisa, Mary Jane. So thanks all for being here. We're just waiting to hit the hour before we get started. Definitely feel free in the meantime to pop into the chat. I always love getting to know you all, learning where you're from, what type of practitioner you are, what you're hoping to get out of the session. So feel free to pop in to the chat. Other than that, we will just kind of hang tight. See, we've had a couple more people join us. Just as a little update, we're just waiting to hit the hour and for our featured guest, Nicole Harlow, to join us. So just waiting for her to log on before we kick this off. So in the meantime, just hang tight. We will be kicking things off in just a couple of minutes here, but grateful to have you all here to learn about podcasts and social media for brand visibility. Super cool topic that we're going to be learning today. But hello to Aileen and Alice, Jessica, Mike, and there's Nicole. Hey, Nicole, just give her a minute to unmute, all that good stuff.
Can you hear me, Brittany?
I can hear you. Welcome, Nicole.
Hello. When I try to start my video, it says unable to start video.
All right, try it now.
No, it doesn't look like it's working just yet.
There you go.
Oh,
now we can see you. Yeah, welcome. We're excited to have you on today. We've got quite a few people already on the session. So we're recording, we're at the hour, so we can kick this off. Nicole is here today to teach us about podcasting and social media strategies for brand visibility. So super important as we're all kind of learning to, bring on new clients and get that exposure that we need to keep that wheel turning in our businesses. Nicole is the CEO of BrandBetter. How many of you have heard of BrandBetter? I'd love for you to pop it in the chat. Maybe some of you were at Program Summit, but we shared a little bit about what BrandBetter does and an awesome video from them. It's super cool what you all do. Nicole, I'm going to give a brief intro about you and what you do, and then I'll let you kick it off.
Absolutely.
Session. So like I said, Nicole is the CEO of BrandBetter, but she's also the podcast producer. So the perfect person to be talking to us today for this session on brand visibility using podcasts. She's also the brand strategist at BrandBetter. And if you haven't heard of BrandBetter, they are an award-winning design agency. It's kind of like the bridge between that big vision that you have for your health and wellness business and getting you to that point where you feel that really strong, unshakable brand confidence, ready to present yourself and what you do to the world. So with that very short, sweet to the point intro, Nicole, I will let you take it away. I'm going to kind of fade into the background and let you take the stage to talk everybody through your session today.
Amazing. I'm so excited to get started. And yes, it's so funny. We practice better and brand better. No relation. We have the same last name, but we are not related. But we collaborate really well. So this is the third time that I've collaborated with Practice Better. You may have seen me if you did one of the business building programs talking about branding. So I'm not going to talk a lot about branding today because there is a resource in Practice Better where you can go and check that out. And also I just spoke at the conference about creating your online program. So we're going to take a little bit of a different tactic today. And we're going to be talking about social media and podcasting and how those two things come together, because you may not think that they're necessarily related, but hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll see that they are really nice best friends when you use both of them potentially for your business. I'm going to share my screen because I've got some slides for you. And I'm a Canva lover. I bet you guys, some of you are out here using Canva too. So just so you know, even though we are a professional branding agency, we love Canva. We use Canva a lot for social media templates for clients, and I use it to create, slides and things like that. And yes, I am wearing my brand colors today. And if you have brand colors, I recommend that you wear your brand colors too, because when you show up for a webinar, you're creating content. As a branding strategist, I love seeing our clients in their brand colors. And when we do a branding project with our clients, we like to think about this is just a side note, but I like to think about what kind of colors do you look good in too. And so that's one little tidbit. If you're thinking about rebranding this year or changing your colors, start thinking about what are some colors that are harmonious for me that I look good in. So if you're up on stage or you're creating content for your social media channel, say you're starting a TikTok channel or something like that, start thinking about what colors you actually look good in, and we can start incorporating that into the branding too. So anyway, we're here to talking about growing your brand visibility with social media and podcasting. Oops, that tells me that there we go. So I'm Nicole Harlow. There's a lot of me on the screen right now. Again, here I am wearing my mustard and with a background in my mustard, one of our brand colors. Couple things that I just want to say. I won't spend a lot of time talking about myself here because I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of what I want to teach about today, which is social media and podcasting. But some things that I think would be helpful to know about me. I am CEO at Brand Better branding agency and also BrandPOP marketing agency, which is our sister business. So we all work together, but a lot of the clients that we work with start out working with Brand Better, which is our branding agency, where we help them with anything in their business that relates to their brand. So that could be visual branding, logos, color palettes, social media templates, anything to make your brand look highly professional, packaging design, supplement, labels, things like that. We also have a copywriting team and we have a web design team, and we help put together things like lead magnets and funnels. And so anything kind of really the brand touches on that side. And if you were at the Practice Better conference on growing your program, you'll know that we also help our clients put together an online program and help them market it. BrandPOP is our sister business where it's a marketing agency, and this is where we help our clients with managing their social media, creating content, and then we're also podcast production. And this seems like a lot, but it's all connected. And I hope through our call today, this webinar, that you'll get a better sense of how branding is really the foundation of everything that you do. And so when it comes to content creation is also a part of building your brand. And even if I want you to just have this commitment right here before we go any further, even if you're a solopreneur, even if you're just getting started, if you're a clinic, if you have a small business, I want you to start thinking about yourself as a brand, because everyone who is in business is a brand, has a brand. And so sometimes definitions can get a little bit confusing and murky around what actually is a brand? Am I a brand? Am I a brand am I only a brand if I sell products? Am I only a brand if I have a certain amount of employees? Do I have to make a certain amount of money? And I'm saying, no, even if you are just out of functional medicine training, just getting started, the quicker that you can start thinking about yourself as a brand, the more helpful it is when you're creating content, moving on to social media, trying to improve your social media, And so everything that we're going to talk about today is kind of build on this foundation that you are your brand. Everyone's a brand who's here, who's watching. And we all have ideal clients, right? We all have an ideal client avatar. And the more that we can kind of ground ourselves in that brand foundation, the better. So today is going to be a lot about this. I think anything else that I would say about myself, I am I'm an Enneagram 7, which means if anybody out there knows that, I am an ideas machine. And I got into branding. My origin story of getting into branding is I tried a lot of other things before I got here. So I've been an online entrepreneur for over 15 years now, which makes me kind of a dinosaur in the space. So I've seen all these platforms. All the platforms didn't exist when I got started. I advertised my services on Craigslist and I was making like a web 1.0 website. So I started this back in the day when you had to learn how to, HTML and CSS. And I started out, bootstrapping businesses and taught myself everything out of necessity. I didn't have any pennies really to hire anybody. So when I knew I wanted to start an online business, my goals and what I really wanted was location independence. I wanted the laptop lifestyle. I was an early adopter to like, hey, if I have my laptop and Wi-Fi, like I can travel the world. And I started several businesses before I got to Brand Better, which have just helped kind of create tools for my tool belt. So I did run the Center for Menstrual and Sexual Health, which was my women's health coaching clinic when I lived abroad. So I lived in Europe for about 10 years and had a small clinic there. I was a yoga teacher in a past life. Anything body-based, somatic healing. My degrees are in sexuality and psychology and women's studies. And so not really related to branding, but everything that I've done as an Enneagram 7 and as a human design manifesting generator, if anybody knows anything about that. I'm throwing out some terms here, but I've taken a lot of experience and tried a lot of things. And that really, when it got grounded down as a brand strategist, it made a lot of sense. As someone who really enjoys functional medicine, health, and healing, as someone really enjoys having ideas and taking those ideas and making them manifest. As a brand specialist and having a branding agency was a really natural transition for me. So I'm going to stop talking about myself and we'll get into the actual training here. But I just wanted you to know that little piece about me and why it may seem like we do a lot of things at our agency. And one of the reasons why we do is because I love to do a lot of things. I love to start working with a client who starts working because they need a new logo. And then we work together for months and then they turn into a social media client. And then 6 months down the line, we help them launch a podcast. So that's what we need to know about me. A couple little things too, just to point out. In most pages in the corner, you'll see this like funky little QR code. And that is an opportunity for you to book a call with me, book a discovery call if you want to chat about any of our services at Brand Better, BrandPOP. You'll see that on the right-hand side. And then you'll also see a little subtle nod on the left-hand side to our portfolio. So all the pictures in here are portfolio of some clients that we worked with. And so I want you to just get a sense as we go along. I'll be talking and teaching you through the words, but keep your eyes peeled for the imagery too, because this kind of showcases like how each brand is so different, and I'll show you some client transformations and some examples of people we've worked with at the end. One, because I think, it's nice to just pepper these presentations with some pleasant visuals, but also like, I want you to start thinking about yourself. Like one thing that is so beautiful about branding and teaching about branding and getting to work in this industry is our team really takes the perspective of each brand is completely unique. And so not only do I want you to walk away from this training with really thinking about yourself as a brand, but I want you to really think about yourself as a very unique brand. No one does things exactly like you do. And part of what makes branding really good, including social media, including podcasting, is pulling that out of yourself or us pulling it out of our clients and really showcasing what is it that makes you different. So maybe out of all of you here watching, you've all had, let's just say, for example, you've all had the same functional medicine training. You're all IFM trained, and you all like, you want to work on the same type of avatar, which is like a menopausal, perimenopausal woman. All 20 of you will do things differently. You'll bring your past, you'll bring in my past career, I was a financial advisor. In my past career, or I was a yoga teacher, and then I came into functional medicine. I worked as a teacher, and then I came into functional medicine. And so that's just one example of, that's a career example, but also all of our life experiences, places where we've lived, what we do. We have a client that it is a CrossFit competitor and now teaches about, mood and nutrition. And so she brings a specific, unique influence. And branding, social media, content creation is really that nucleus, where the Venn diagram almost, where what makes you uniquely you is on one side, and on the other side is your ideal client. We should always just be talking to one person, right? Just like, I know it's easy to think like it's a whole world out there. It's a whole Instagram, right? It's a whole email list of several hundred or several thousand people. But the more that you can target and really understand that one person, you hear this a lot if you do any training around like discovering your niche or creating an avatar. This feeling of like, this is my person. This is my one person that I'm talking to. This is my one person that I'm helping. And the more that you can kind of create those two circles in the Venn diagram, it's like that sweet spot is like right in the middle there. It's like, this is what makes me unique. This is my one person that I'm talking to. And where you meet in the middle is a really sweet spot for content creation. So what is brand visibility? I'm going to start off with a definition here. Brand visibility refers to the extent to which a brand is recognized, noticed, and remembered by its target audience within a given market or industry. It's a critical aspect of a brand's overall marketing strategy and plays a vital role in shaping consumer perceptions and purchase decisions. But what I really see is what's bolded down here. It's about being seen through the feed. So we live in a totally busy digital world right now. You see it as you scroll through social media. It is like everything is being thrown at you. And so part of brand visibility and what content creation, social media, or podcasting, what this is about is really like not only being seen through the feed, but it's about relationship building. It's about consistently showing up for people. So those are my North Stars when it comes to content creation. It's not, I'm going to tell you here in the beginning of like our call, this is not about likes or followers or any of those like vanity metrics. This is about relationship building. This is about consistency. This is about showing up like an expert. This is about helping. And the more that we orient ourselves towards social media and or podcasting, because you can do one, you can do the other. You don't have to do, this class is not about doing both. And I'm going to give you tips for them individually. I want you to think about like, stop analyzing so much. It's important to like have your metrics. It's important for your analytics, but don't think so much about like having like videos going viral or having this like amazing amount of likes. This is like, can we create content that starts a conversation? Even if the conversation is only in someone's head, for every person that responds with a comment, there may be 10 or 20 other people that see that post and it's helpful for them. It's meaningful for them. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm more on the introverted side of things. I only really get extroverted when I have to teach these classes, but in my like day-to-day life, you're more likely to see me reading a book with a cup of tea than out talking to. I'm the person at the grocery store that's like hiding down the other aisle, when I see somebody. but I'm not regularly commenting on social media, even if I find a post really helpful. So I just want to give you that little tidbit that when you orient yourself towards it's just about likes and it's just about follows, what you lose in there is a lot of the richness around relationships. And there's a lot of unseen things that happen where, people can really be moved by your post. They can make an impression on you. You're just top of mind for them over a series of weeks, and then they start working with you, but they may not ever like or comment on a post of yours. So I just wanted to say that, like, we can get out of our own heads around like vanity metrics and really get into like the feel good space of like, am I creating great content? Am I creating content that is helpful, that's educational, that's entertaining? We can start feeling inspired by the creations that we create and not just going, oh my God, like I posted that thing and nobody liked it, but look at it. Like, is it something that you're proud of? So this is kind of me saying a new way of thinking, right? So a new way of thinking around social media and podcasting, of which I will say, I think most people really dislike social media. And part of the reason why social media is so disliked is because it can feel very vapid, right? We're here because, especially here in a Practice Better webinar, my assumption is you're here because you want to help people. You're here because you're a functional medicine practitioner, you're a health coach, you're maybe somewhere in the wellness world, but you're here because here are my two assumptions, right? My one assumption is that you really want to help people. And my other assumption is because you're here and you're creating some kind of wellness business, that you like deep dives. You probably like going deep into the science of things. You like going deep into a topic. And social media can feel, I think, pretty surface and pretty vapid. And so my challenge to you, both in social media and podcasting, is how can we create content that feels a little deeper? And the answer is you can. You don't have to follow trends or chase trends. And my promise to you, as you signed up for this webinar, is that you don't have to dance on TikTok. You can still have a great TikTok channel, a great Instagram channel, and not dance and not lip sync and not like, and you can, if that's part. My comment there is like, is that a part of your brand vibe? Some brands are funny, some brands are witty, some brands are irreverent and playful, and that works for them, in which case, dance away, memorize all the choreography, do all the funny little quips and the found sounds where you're lip syncing them. But if your brand, like if you show up for your clients in a way that's like more academic, more serious, or even like on the side of like relatable, BFF, keep it real with you, you don't need to be chasing the trends that are on TikTok or Instagram. What you need to be doing is creating deep and resonant content with your audience. And no, that may not go viral, but that's actually not our goal. Our goal is to go deep rather than broad, right? So we don't have to focus on like the post that gets like 1 million views, because I've seen it in my clients, like they've had posts that have gone viral, but it doesn't necessarily maybe it gets them some more likes, but it doesn't translate into sales or clients. What translates into sales and clients is having a deeper conversation. So that's my new way of thinking. And I'm hoping, by the end of this, that you'll feel inspired to think about social media in a new way. I always pull this out when I'm teaching because I find this really helpful to just go through this branding wheel. And if you've seen any of my other trainings, you would see this as well. But it just gives us a little orientation around like branding is such a wide topic, and people always think about it as just a logo. And this is just my little way of showing you that like the logo and the font and the colors are only one piece of it. If you see the right-hand side, the darker colors are kind of more like the thing that you would be able to like point to and say, that's out there in the world. For example, like a logo, you could point to a logo and say, oh, that's, Target's logo. Also on the out there in the real world side is like a website and digital platforms. If you had like a storefront, this would be like your physical store. This is all part of your brand. But then this is where we're here today, which is social media and content. This is a big part of your brand, and it's part of the front facing side of your brand. The side that's a bit lighter, these are like the intangible things that are still a part of your brand. It's part of the bigger brand picture, but these are more subtle, and they're not seen, but they are felt though. And you avoid working on these things at your peril, because these are the things that really, like, they inform the darker side of the wheel here. So that's your brand story, your missions, your values. Who are we? Why does our brand exist? Why does it deserve to exist? How are we different? Your brand voice and tone. You can see all this stuff is relevant once we get into social media. Like, how do we speak as a brand? Are we, there's a lot of little things, little questions, even on social media, like, do we use emojis? If so, which ones? Are we humorous or not? Are we scientific or more general? And by scientific, I mean, like, do we reference every study? Do we use like a more academic language, or is this written in a way that the average person would understand? Are we more relatable or professional? Yeah. Do we use humor? Are we witty? Do we curse or not? And having like a standard here and understanding this for your brand can be really helpful, both for creating your own content, but then also for like bringing in anybody, like a virtual assistant, or if you're hiring a team, for example, like us, to manage your social media, having a shared vision around like, how do we communicate? What type of voice do we use? What tone of voice, and for it to be, the more that you create content like this in this voice, that it is more recognizable, right? So when the goal is kind of for someone to scroll on Instagram and see one of your posts and kind of instantly know that it's your brand, because you use a consistent color palette, because the format, because of the tone of voice. The more that we can create like a strategy guide around like keeping consistent, the better. And the last thing here on this branding wheel is brand positioning and personality, which kind of overlaps with these two. And brand positioning is more like, you can go anywhere from like, you can be the Walmart of brand positioning, which is just like, we're the cheapest and we're for everybody. Or you can be the Gucci most exclusive, like, I don't know, like, you can go up, you can go on the scale from like, we're positioned and priced for a lot of volume and for everybody. Or you can be, I mean, what's the difference between like a Walmart and a Target, right? It's like price wise, it's not that much, but Target, like clicks up the scale a little bit in the feeling of a little more exclusivity, but it's still for everybody, right? And so we're going up the scale. We're at the top of the scale. We have like something that feels like the most exclusive, which comes with the big bucks, right? And so brand positioning around like, are we, as a functional medicine practitioner or wellness provider, it's a good thing to know where you're priced in your industry. Like Brand Better, for example, it's easy for me to say that we are definitely not the cheapest out there for a reason. And we are also definitely not the most expensive out there for a reason. And my reason is not because like, I think the quality of our work doesn't warrant that price. It's because I don't personally like to deal with that type of client. So when you get into the most exclusive, you're dealing with different personality types, potentially. So I would like to kind of invite you to just think about your own positioning, both in your business and how it relates to your content creation as well. Like even in your visual, like, are we trying to promote the fact that you are like this super exclusive wellness center? And if you hear any judgment in my voice, it's not there at all. Like there's not a right or wrong here. It's about like, for me, Brand Better, our brand vibe is very friendly and relatable. And so part of that is having like a mid-tier pricing structure where we're like, we are inaccessible to some people, and for some people, we're too cheap. And so like with your own services and your own pricing, like, are you able to like put a pin in where you are? Like, are you at the top of what you could charge for your industry, or are you at the bottom? Because there's a strategy behind all of these. So this brand positioning, we could talk a whole class just on that and personality, but I wanted you to get a sense kind of where we're at social media, but all of this is informed by everything else that's on this wheel. So how we use social media and content to promote our brand, to grow our brand visibility, super powerful strategy, and it allows businesses to connect with your target audience, to build brand awareness, and to foster engagement. But really, when I break it all down, it's about building relationships and growing your brand expertise. The more content that you create, and this helps when you're going, well, I'm creating content and nobody is liking it and people aren't really following. I want to give you a reframe for that. The reframe is what you're actually doing is creating a bank of content that's really helpful for people, so that when they check you out, because we're all checking each other out before you buy anything, right? We're all checking each other out. We're like, I know I do. I'm like looking at the website, I'm reading the testimonials. The higher the price point, the more we're checking it out. We're doing our due diligence. And one of the things that I think as modern consumers that we do is check out to see, does this business have an Instagram or I think nowadays it's probably more Instagram than it is Facebook, but do they have social media? And once you're on there, are they posting regularly? That means that they're, in business and they're coming up with fresh content. That makes me feel like this business is relevant. I'm looking to see, people can go back in your archives and see what content you've already created. And so I like to think about content creation around like, yes, in the moment, likes and shares and engagement and follows, all this stuff is important in the bigger picture, but also like, are we creating a bank of really great content? So when somebody's checking you out before they're deciding between, you got two functional medicine practitioners here. They both seem cool. They both seem like they're going to help me solve my fertility problem. But this one, I go to their social media and they have a ton of great content. I'm looking at their TikTok videos. Oh my God, they have a podcast. I'm going to start listening to the podcast. And you start to develop that relationship and you're like, wow, her podcast is like, I feel like I've already learned so much, and I'm listening to her voice. I'm connecting to her personality, right? You can see how you may not get like, maybe only get 3 likes in the moment, but that is just netted you a sale. That might be a $4,000 client that came from creating some social media posts and creating some podcast episodes. So I want to really invite you to think about your social media as not as an immediate blip, but more as like a long-term strategy to create a bank of, if I was going to hire someone and I saw that they had 500 episodes of their podcast, they've been doing this for years, I'm going to think to myself, whether it's unconsciously, subconsciously, like this person's an expert, right? Compared to the person who has no social media presence, they haven't posted for a year. And the last thing they posted was like just a picture of their dog. They don't have a podcast. They just have a website that advertises their services. If I'm going back and forth, like I'm going to gravitate towards the person who is like created expert content. And when it comes to creating that content, this gives you an opportunity to really think deeply about who your ideal client avatar is and what kind of questions they might have, frequently asked questions, what kind of content would really appeal to them. All of this is like really powerful content strategy, content ideas, so that when they come to your page and they're scrolling through your Instagram, they get on your TikTok, they're going to your YouTube channel, and there are all these snippets of your podcast, right? And they subscribe on iTunes, and they're listening to you for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Maybe they're binging on some of your content and they listen to 4 or 5 episodes, which a lot of people tend to do when they're subscribing to a podcast. By the time they get on a sales call with you, they're going to feel like they know you. If they have listened to enough and they've consumed enough of your content to like, they've already dispelled some of their initial hesitations around, is she or he an expert or not? is this the right person for me? So then when you show up on the sales call or you present them the offer, they've already done some of that internal work to be that many steps closer to working with you. So again, another reframe around content creation. It's not just about posting some little quote and getting a couple likes. It's like, do we have a bank of content that when somebody seeks us out, they can find it and they can start building that relationship and also getting a sense of your brand expertise. I'm going to walk you through a 12-part social media strategy that I like to think about, especially whether you're just getting started or even if you've had social media for many, many years, which a lot of us have had at this point, and you want to look at it with fresh eyes. So let's just dive in. So we've got 12 of these. Number one is, let me move my camera a little bit because I think I'm blocking this. And when I'm done, I'll pop the slides in here too. So you guys will have access to this. So you don't feel like you have to take copious notes. And I know that Brittany's recording this as well. So number one is choosing the right platforms. This is a big one. I want to teach as much as I want to dispel myths in this class. And one of the myths is this feeling like you need to be on every platform right from the start or ever. If you don't want to do Instagram or TikTok, that's okay. You have my full permission to not be on either of those platforms. You want to focus on your B2B business and you want to focus on LinkedIn because that is where your people are. You want to focus on Twitter/X because you're really good at, you like the kind of short back and forth conversations, and that feels like it really works for your brand vibe. I'd say for most business owners in 2023, moving into 2024, Instagram is a place where you really want to be. It's still a very relevant platform. Facebook is, organic reach on Facebook is like almost dead. Like and if you ever post on Facebook on your business page, you'll see that. You'll see it only gets to like 1 or 2 people. Facebook is a great place to have a business page if it's part of your strategy to have paid ads at some point. You need it. It's just a necessary place to be. I think these days with Meta and Instagram, when you have an Instagram there, if you have a Facebook business page, you can unlock some more metrics. And so I recommend everyone just has a Facebook business page. And I'll show you in a couple minutes, like how I also cross post to Facebook to make sure that there's some kind of presence there. But I don't personally spend a lot of time there. I think for clients who are getting started right now, the platforms that I would recommend to focus on are Instagram, just for its staying power. It's such a juggernaut, and there's a lot of different ways to use Instagram, from like going live to having stories to having reels, to having your static posts. There's a lot of ways to connect on Instagram and create different types of content. So it's still a really powerful player. It's the first place that I go to when I'm checking out a brand. If I'm going to buy something, I go website, Instagram, or sometimes it's Instagram website, depending. And I'm the type of person to purchase a lot from Instagram ads that are highly targeted, that are served to me, whether that's business or personal. So I love Instagram as a platform. I think TikTok there's still a lot of room to grow there. What's really fun about TikTok is it's kind of the wild, wild west right now. And so there's opportunity to get creative and create more kind of viral content. So I would start off thinking, choosing really only, if we say a Facebook business page is just kind of a given that everybody should just have one, then I would focus on 1 or 2 platforms to improve. Right now, it's Instagram and TikTok is where I'm moving most of our clients, but there are some exceptions for people who are more business to business, and LinkedIn would be a great place for them. But for most of our clients are functional medicine providers, health and wellness. We're doing Instagram and TikTok. So number 1, choose the right platforms. Number 2, you want to go through and optimize your profile. I see a lot of people with just their profile is not really saying what they do. It's just kind of an afterthought. The picture is just it's not a professional picture of them, or you want to make sure we've got your logo on there or a really high quality picture of yourself. we want to make sure that you have a compelling bio that just in a sentence really clearly states like who you are and who you work with. I want people to be able to look at that and just see like very quickly, like, oh, this person is a fertility specialist for type A women, right? So something that's like really expresses who you are. And it's hard sometimes. That can be one of the most difficult parts, is just like collecting all this information and sharing it like in a really succinct way. And I want to make sure that you don't just have the link. So you only get one link on Instagram. And if you're going to use it, don't have it just go to your website. It should be some kind of link tree or another service similar to, I like Linktree, but I want to see a place where people can find multiple ways to connect with you, almost like letting them go down a rabbit hole. So not everybody's ready to go straight to your website, and not everybody's ready to book a call with you. But if we have a link tree with a bunch of different links, like on my link tree, I use a specific page on my website for this. There's a bunch of buttons, and you can go to @BrandBetterCo on Instagram and click on the link and just see the way that it's laid out. I want you to have something similar where you can, the top button was for people to sign up to this webinar. You could sign up with another webinar. You can grab a book. You can book a call. It honors the fact that everybody is at a different stage of buying, right? Which leads me into my next pillar, content strategy. We want to make sure that we're taking time to develop a content strategy that aligns with your brand's values and objectives. And from there, we can create a content calendar of topics and different types of posts, right? To kind of like cycle through a variety of like text posts or images or video, etc. But something I want to offer here is a lot of times when we go into content strategy and content planning, we start thinking about topics. We go right to like, what are my content pillars? Oh, this is going to be educational, and this one's going to be inspirational, and this one's going to be promotional. And then you start creating underneath of that. Like that's what, if I asked you to like sit down and just like create a content strategy for your business, you might start thinking about topical. I want to have a content pillar that's all about recipes. But what I want to offer to you today is a slight reframe around they're above our content pillars, above our topics, right? This is going to be about women's health. This is about hormones. This is about sexuality, whatever those content pillars are. There's something above that. And I want you to have this in your head as you create content. There are 3 types of general buckets, I guess let's call them, of content. And one is we need content that attracts. So this is just, it breaks down into like business success, right? We have attracting, we have converting, and then we have retaining. These are core. We can break down every single thing in business, but it really comes down to these core pieces. You need to attract people. You need to be able to convert them into buyers, at least a percentage of them. And you need to, those buyers, retain them. Build brand loyalty. There's a saying, and I don't know who is attributed to, that you don't really have a business until you have that recurring service. You don't really have a business until you can take the people that you've converted and turn them into regular buyers of your product. So, and that's going to be different depending on what the business is, but I want to apply that framework to our content strategy. Hopefully that makes sense. It means within, you can go and you can create your topical content pillars, but I want you to be thinking holistically, broad around content that attracts. So that's, what is the content that educates, that brings people in, that, or entertains, that brings people in? Content that converts. So that could be, a link to book a call. That could be like, this is where we get people who are on our social media, who are following us, and we invite them to take the next step. And then there's the content that we create that's specifically for our people, for the people who have already bought with us, to encourage them to buy again. So is that like, reminding them of our brand mission? That could be a discount to continue working with us. That could be case studies or testimonials. That could be, highlighting members of our community who we've worked with and really highlighting the good work that we've done with them. So I want you to think about those as our buckets as you go into the content creations and strategy. Number 4 is quality over quantity. We want to make sure that we don't have to be posting like 3 times a day anymore. When some of these platforms came out, it was just like post 5 times a day. No, I'd be happy if like 3 to 5 days a week you had like one quality post. I want you to invite you to start off with a commitment to 3 social media posts per week. That would be a really great place. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have 3 posts, but you spend some time making sure that those posts are quality. And in a minute or two, I'm going to show you my content repurposing strategy. Number 5 is to use visual storytelling. Anytime that you have the opportunity to use video instead of just a static post, I would say do it. Video is king right now, or queen. A lot of us don't like to be on video, but the more video content that you can share, the better. Number 6 is to engage with your audience. I think we want to commit to answering every DM, commit to answering every comment. That's like somebody actually reaching out to share, to say hello. And there's one thing about like deleting spam and things like that, but a genuine comment, we want to make sure that we are committed to, responding to that. Our purpose here on social media is to engage. It's not just to like blankly create some content and then just leave it and just peace out and like not come back again. We want to make sure that like regularly throughout the week, even if you're on a schedule of 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I post my content, then I come back in, I answer some DMs, and I respond to some comments. It helps create a 2-way conversation, and it's also very good for the algorithm too. Number 7 is to collaborate and partner. So we want to think about as we grow. These are, once you've set your foundation, these are a little bit more like advanced. We're going into stage 2 here. To collaborate and partner with other influencers and complementary businesses. This can help grow your social media and strengthen your social media strategy, as does number 8, user-generated content. So this is asking people in your audience, in your community, to share content related to your brand. What is it like to work with you? How are they using your product? How are they engaging with your online program, right? Showing some behind the scenes. 9 is to stay current and relevant, keeping up with new trends, while also, we don't have to follow every single trend. So let yourself off the hook for feeling like, ooh, I missed that viral trend. That's okay. We're just like, we want to stay relevant while at the same time being authentic. And the last 3 here, number 10 is consistency rules, maintaining consistent posting schedule, regular and reliable content updates. And this is this crosses over very nicely with podcasting as well. Number 11 is to monitor analytics. This is important, but it's not the end all be all. I want to make sure that you feel like the content you're creating is high value, and that you're proud of it. And the last one is patience and growth. It takes a while to grow on social media. And that is just, besides a few outliers here and there, that's just the truth of social media. So I want you to just, like I said earlier in our presentation today, think about creating this like bank of content. Think about like a legacy of, a year or 2. Imagine with like a year's worth of consistent posting and content creation. At the end of the year, you'll have this really beautiful bank of content that when somebody's checking out your business and deciding whether to hire you, whether to buy your online program, that they're able to go in and just really go down the rabbit hole, right? We want to give people like things to read and things to listen to and things to watch. And that really honors the fact that there are lots of different types of buyers out there, and there's lots of different types of learners. So thinking about a strategy then incorporates some things they can listen to. Some people who like to watch videos can watch those, and the people who like to read have that option too. looking at my time. So I think I'm going to skip over these and just share the slides with you. You can go back, and this is just my plan for if I was to roll out the first 90 days of improving my social media. Here are some things I would be focusing on: Instagram stories, TikTok, and content generation. You can go back and read through. And then this is more of an extended focus, right? So you have access to this plan. This is what exactly I would recommend for our social media clients too. So whether you're working with us or you're DIYing it, this is what I'd focus on for the first 90 days. And then after that, I would start adding in things like going live, collaborating with influencers, having brand partnerships, and then paid ads. Paid ads, we could do a whole training on that. So besides just putting that here, I'm not going to go any deeper into that, because I want to talk about content repurposing, and I want to spend a little bit of time on the podcasting side of it too. I spent more time talking about social media because in my mind, that's relevant to everybody who's here. It's relevant to, I think the statistics are like 95% of US businesses are on social media. So it is relevant to every business owner. And I wanted to make sure that you guys had a good foundation of like pillars and strategy before spending a little bit of time on podcasting. Because I see podcasting as a complementary strategy, but not for everybody. Like not every client that we work with even wants to have a podcast. But I'm going to do my best to try to convince you why it's a good idea for your business too. Even if you're like an introvert like me, podcasting can still be awesome. But I'm going to show you two different ways of content repurposing. And this is the routine that I go through, the framework that I go through with my own business. I don't like doing a lot of like busy work, I have to say. I like to make sure that I am doing my work once. And I'll show you this in the podcasting side of content repurposing. I want to do my work once, and then I want to be able to like ship it out in a lot of different places. And I want to make sure that every piece of content that I create continues to build on our brand story. And if somebody wants to work with me, that when they go to listen to my podcast or they go to our social media on Instagram, that they see that like the content that they're interacting with is teaching them a bit more about our brand and educating them at the same time. So what I do in the content repurposing is I start off with a blog post. When I do my content calendar, I like to do it for like a quarter at a time. And I think about, is there anything specific that I'm promoting right now? How does this fit in with kind of the bigger picture of what we're doing in our business? And I start creating like blog post titles. The blog post anchors, you'll never have to think about what to write on social media again if you do it this way. The blog post anchors the week. It's the jewel. Blog post goes out on a Monday. So all I'm doing is creating blog post topics. I write the blog that goes up on my website, right? So this is how to be everywhere and only really do the minimal amount of work. So we take the blog post. That gives me a reason to write to my email list. Because sometimes we go, you probably felt this, like, I know I should be writing to my email list every week, but I'm like, not really sure what to say. There's nothing really new for me to say. This topic should be really tied to your ideal client avatar. It's something that's really going to help them. Right now on my podcast, we're doing like a whole series on social media. It's called Wealthy Wellness Biz. If you want to subscribe to it, just a little plug right there. So blog post turns into the content of the blog post makes the bulk of the email blast, gives you a reason and a purpose to write to your mailing list. Do this once a week. I like to do anchor it on a Monday. Blog post goes out on a Monday. Email blast also goes out on a Monday. From the blog post, I pull out 3 pieces of content. Social media, I break down into, whether it's a reel for Instagram, a carousel, a quote that comes directly from the blog post. I turn that into 3 Instagram posts. I like to do a variety of like I said, maybe one reel, maybe one carousel. I post it up on my Instagram stories and I bring people back to the blog. And then I do the same thing for TikTok, and you can repurpose. See, this is where it gets fun, because Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, I can take my Instagram post and repost it up on TikTok. I can take my Instagram post and I can automatically on the Instagram app post that to my Facebook page. Bam, I wrote one blog post, but I turned it into 3 social media posts that go out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, TikTok, Facebook. Right? For me, that is like that's like a really great content repurposing. And I'm going to show you this is when we're going to move over to the podcasting and talk here for a few minutes. When we add a podcast, it helps you to be even more everywhere. Like, and that's a little bit of a joke, but I want to show you what I do with podcasting. Sorry, there's a fly. If you see this fly on my face, it's driving me crazy. It's the pitfalls of living in an old farmhouse. So when I add a podcast, we can, with our podcasting host, we can take our clients and we can put them on Apple. We'll have them on Spotify. We'll have them on Amazon Music. We'll have them on Google Podcasts. So already we've expanded, and the podcast episode becomes the anchor for the week. So what you need to do is like come up with your topics for the quarter, right? Do a podcast episode on that one. And then we take the podcast episode that anchors the week, that turns into a blog post, that turns into an email, right? So everything from this screen, it just starts here with a podcast episode in the front. We take the episode, we transcribe it, we turn it into a blog post. Now, our team does all of this work for our clients, but if you're DIYing, this is something you can just steal this framework and just use it in your business too. Podcast episode drops on a Monday, turns into a blog post, turns into an email blast, turns into 3 posts. This time you can use audio from your podcast. That's even cooler. When the podcast drops on a Monday, now our business is in Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on Amazon, it's on Google. So you can see with one piece of content, now we're in all of these different places. We have an RSS feed. So anybody who follows an RSS feed is going to see our episode for the week. Then we take that, put the audio with, if you're recording a podcast with video, or you can just take the audio and put a picture on it. We put it over on YouTube. Now we have a YouTube channel, and you can, you're over on YouTube, and that's great because it's amazing search engine optimization. YouTube is one of the biggest, besides Google, it's one of the biggest search engines on the planet. So you put your content there and your keywords are now, if you do, check it out next time you search something on Google, you'll see YouTube videos pretty high up on the first page. So if you have a video that's about, 5 functional medicine labs that every woman should have before she's 40, when somebody Googles something like that, now you're going to show up on YouTube. Now you're going to show up because you're in the podcast. So from one piece of content, we can be in all of these different channels. So talk about content repurposing, and then I supercharge it. This is like an advanced strategy, but I supercharge our podcasts with, and I recommend this for clients too, take some of your best podcast episodes and turn them into Facebook and Instagram ads as the start of a sales funnel. And so we will spend, not a lot, maybe $5 a day on getting our best podcast episodes in front of our ideal clients. We're not asking them to do anything. We're not triggering any like weird, just like, oh, they're asking for my email address, or they want me to buy something. No, we just want them to start like down the first step of the rabbit hole. Just step right in there. And when they do that, then we can pixel them, we can retarget them with like a webinar a little bit down the road, and make sure that the page where the podcast is optimized. So it has like, oh, if you like this episode, grab this lead magnet and get on our email list. Here's where you can follow us on social media. So you give them the options for like, hey, you're listening to the episode. We're not asking you to do anything. But if you want to take the next step, it's like the analogy around dating. Like when somebody first listens to your podcast or first sees you on Instagram, like they may be ready for like a coffee date, but they're not ready to get married. They're not ready to like, put a ring on it. And sometimes we expect people to go from like, they just met us to like, now they're going to become a client of ours. And we got to like court them through that. And part of that is just like, having the content out there, being in a lot of different places. So you feel like that they feel like, wow, this is a really professional brand. They're in like so many different places. So hopefully this helps as content purposing map. And in a few minutes that I have left, I want to just talk about how podcasting fits into all of this. Podcasting and the reasons why I love it, in addition to social media, is because it's not only an opportunity to position yourself as an expert and to take responsibility for consistently showing up for your listeners, but it's also a place where you can attract high quality customers. People who listen to podcasts tend to be good buyers. They tend to be people who research, who want to do more of a deep dive. And so I love podcast listeners as clients. And I think as functional medicine or as health educators, podcast listeners, they represent a different type of buyer who we talk a lot in trainings around functional medicine. I do with my clients as well, or in the health space, of like, most of our clients want a type of client who's invested in their health. Because the work that you do is not like, it's not a pill, right? It's not like come in and get a pill. We want to attract that type of buyer who's like, oh, I've done the research. I've read the books. Oh yeah, I read Peter Attia's new book. I listened to Huberman Lab podcast. I may be the consumer that's paying you, but I am invested in my own health, and I'm invested in learning and educating myself, but I need an expert to guide me. And that's where you come in. So if you are the podcast host, not only are you attracting that type of client who wants a deep dive and is invested in their health, but you are also building a relationship with them that is way more than social media, way more than scrolling past a post and seeing way more than scrolling past a post and just being like for 2 seconds on there and being like, oh, cool. Yeah, these are the three tests I should take as a perimenopausal woman, versus a 20-minute episode where I get to learn from you. And also like, I get to connect with your voice. I get to connect with your personality way more than I would on social media. And so I like combining social media strategy with a podcast once a week. We're not talking about like 3 times a week. And I'm also not talking about like 3-hour episodes. I'm talking like 15 to 20 minutes. You sit down on a topic, go as deep as you can during that 15 to 20 minutes. And what's amazing is once you create content like that, podcasting has a huge shelf life compared to social media. Think about the last show that you started listening to as a podcast. If you're a podcast listener, when I find a show, do you ever listen to, unless they tell you that you should listen to it in order, like a serial, for example, we tend to just jump in where we're interested. And so I have had a podcast since 2014, and I'll tell you that regularly people still listen to episodes from 2014, 2015. That's content that I made so long ago that it's a guest expert that they want to learn from. It's an interview, it's a topic. So there is some real opportunity here to create lasting content. I see Brittany, so I am going to wrap it up because you guys know that I love to talk. So I'm going to share the slides, and what you're going to find at the end here are some client transformations. I would love you guys to go and look through them. You'll also see a link to some of our social media services with prices on there. I like to be fully transparent, so you can grab that. You can look through our guide of social media, podcasting, and also a package that puts them both together, social media and podcasting. And you'll see through these, the Q&R code to book a call with me. And also you can follow me on social media at Brand Better Co. So send me a DM over there if you're interested in hopping on a call. Let me just get these slides into the chat. And sorry if I couldn't answer any of your questions. If you've ever seen me talk before, I'm trying to share as much information as I can in a short period of time. So sometimes I can't stop my momentum. All right, slides are going in there. You'll have access to those. And Brittany, I will share it back to you again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. That was super insightful. I know that social media in particular is like a really daunting thing. We hear a lot of feedback from our community that it's just something that people don't want to deal with. And I think that this breaks it down in a way that feels it like a little bit more exciting, a little bit more approachable. So super great to learn from you today. We were recording this session, so you will all be getting a replay of everything that we just had in this session. I'll include the link for the slides as well. So I'm going to copy that.
Amazing. Yes, thank you, Brittany.
Yeah, and then continue to connect with Nicole. She's a wealth of information, and we're really lucky to have her a part of this community. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today, for carving out time in your schedule to be here. And thank you, Nicole, of course, for your expertise and being here as well. So we'll wrap it up and hope to see you all again soon. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.